The quality for today is dispossessiveness. And initially, what I wanted to put on the title slide was homeless. But I thought if we put in the message for the topic for the week or on the title slide that it was homeless, most of you may not come. What is this Vedanta promoting homelessness? So I changed it. And it really means the same. It is the quality of dispossessiveness. Now, if we go to the Sanskrit word, and remember, we're taking up our study, quality by quality, from chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita. And in that section, there are 35 qualities that discuss who is a seeker of truth, who is a devotee of God. And we've covered over 30. And now towards the latter portion, we come across this fascinating quality, and it's called Aniketah. Aniketah means literally homeless, without home. And the beauty of this philosophy, it provokes us to think, what does that mean? Does it mean that what Gen Z and Gen Alpha are doing today is Aniketah, where they're deciding not to own a home or an apartment, but rather rent? Is that being Aniketah? It's a little bit more than that. So, to understand this quality, we first need to define or discuss what is this idea of home? What is a home?
A secure shelter.
A secure shelter, okay?
Somewhere you belong.
Somewhere you belong, okay? Nice.
A place which gives you roots.
Place which gives you roots, okay?
Where we want to keep coming back.
Where we want to keep coming back.
Place where you feel safe.
A place where you feel safe. All of these is the idea of home. So it is where we place our comfort, it is where we place our identity, it is where we place our center. This is our concept of home. And when we think of home, we usually place it in a dwelling, a place with walls. It could be a country, a place with an imaginary boundary. It could be a person. You place your home in a person. You place your home in a language. And this is why it is so fascinating, because what is the concept of home? And it can differ for each one of us. But here, the quality of a seeker of truth is being homeless, not having a home. And what this means is, we go to one of the greatest devotees, and that is Lord Hanuman. Some of you might have seen a picture of Lord Hanuman in India. He is the great monkey god, the god of strength, incredible biceps, but also incredible devotion. And Hanuman was a great devotee of Lord Rama. And when asked, Lord Hanuman, where do you stay? And he says, wherever Rama is my home. Wherever God is, that is my home. And if you look at all our definitions that we placed, where do you find comfort? Where do you find solace? Where do you find identity? Where do you keep coming back to? God is the final answer. But if we are not wise, we place that center and we place that identity on factors which are not permanent. Every human being is made up of two components. There's the material component and there's the spiritual component. When we say material component, we're referring to the elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. So we can understand how the body is made up of gross matter, but we don't understand how the mind and intellect is also just elements. Yes, but it is the subtle elements combined together. Subtle: space, air, fire, water, earth. And this body, mind, intellect refers to the ego. Now, when we think about home, we place our home, our comfort, our identity where the body is comfortable, where the mind is at ease, where the intellect finds alignment with ideology. And we place our home there. The trouble with all of these is that they are impermanent. So at some point, you are going to be uncomfortable. When you move from that particular place, when you move from that particular person, or to somebody who disagrees with you, you feel out of ease. So a person who identifies with the self, spirit, God, that component in their personality, they are homeless with respect to the ego. So they don't identify with the body, the mind, and the intellect. They don't identify with it. So they don't have a home, or claim a home, or claim a possessiveness, or claim an identity in the body, mind, intellect. But they do claim a home in the self. So they are homeless with respect to the world, but they are at home with God, self, spirit. But where is God? Where is the self? Where is the spirit?
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's all pervading. So in fact, we think that this quality may not be attractive because we like being comfortable. And we like having a place or a person that we're comfortable with. But we don't realize actually the person who's got no worldly home but has found their home in God, in self, in spirit, is actually at home everywhere, but nowhere in particular. So they're comfortable wherever they go. They feel they belong wherever they are. What freedom is this? But when we claim our identity or our home to a limited region, a limited area, why? Because it aligns with our mind's likes and dislikes. If we like the weather in a particular country, if we like, for some people, my bed is my home. And if I could take my bed with me, I would travel everywhere. Some people do. They carry their pillow wherever they travel to. I'm not sure if you've seen this. Pillow is going wherever they are. Some people, and this happened to us at the academy, they travel with their mattress. Okay, not in the plane, all right, too much. But what they do is that they organize for their mattress, not necessarily the one that they sleep on at home, but the same brand, the same quality. They ship it to the country that they're reaching. They have it ready and they organize to sleep on that mattress. And we had an incident at the academy where the person couriered the mattress, but the mattress got stuck in customs. And unfortunately, they reached and the mattress was not there. So we said, don't worry, let us replicate it. So we put two of our mattresses on top of each other, and the person went and they were jumping, and they were feeling it, and a little bit softer. And then we put a duvet, and then they felt it, just a little bit. And then we put a sheet, and the person said, okay, I'll try it. And to give the person credit, they did try it, but they didn't sleep. And the next day, they left. So, what happens if you have a strong idea of a home as a particular place with a particular comfort, with a particular brand, etc.? What is the problem with that?
Attachment.
What's the problem with attachment?
It binds you.
How?
It ties you down to one place or thing.
Exactly. Because the moment you move from that limited area that you have decided, nobody asked you to, but you have decided to call home, the moment you move from home, you feel homesick. Why? Because you're missing that comfort. You're missing that home. You're missing that bed, pillow, family member. So instead of freedom, we're actually limiting ourselves. So we're not able to move or travel in comfort and peace because we've tied ourselves to a particular place or home. So why does a seeker of truth, why does it make sense for all of us to place our home not in material things, not in impermanent people, places, situations, and place it in God's truth? It's because of freedom, where you can move without missing, where you can be comfortable wherever you are. But it means choosing your identity, your center of comfort carefully. Our Swamiji, our teacher, who has written the books, who is taking the sessions on e-learning, Swami Parthasarathy, his guru was Swami Chinmayananda. And Swami Chinmayananda's guru was Swami Tapovanam. And Swami Tapovan had disciples, and one of the disciples that studied with Swami Chinmayananda was Swami Govindagiri. So when Swami Chinmayananda was inaugurating and opening the Chinmaya mission in Mumbai, our teacher, Swami Parthasarathy, he was the CEO, he was the Pradhan. So he was in charge of administration of the ashram. And Swami Chinmayananda said, let me invite my Guru Bhai, my fellow student who studied under the same master, let me invite him for the inauguration. And this Swami Govindagiri, he came down from the Himalayas to spend some time and give his good wishes for the opening of the ashram. And he stayed. And Swami Chinmayananda says, why are you rushing off? Govindagiri, stay a little bit longer. Stay with us. You have your own room. You have all the comforts you can imagine. Living in the open, in the Himalayas. You don't have the comforts of a fan. You don't have the comforts of blankets. You don't have the comforts of always having hot food, meals prepared for you. So all of that is taken care. Why don't you stay as our honored guest? Stay on. And Swami Govindagiri, what to say? Our Swamiji, Swami Parthasarathy, he could see that Govindagiri was not himself. And he asked, Govindagiriji, would you like to return to the mountains, to the Himalayas? And he said, it's like a bird in the cage. He described being with all the comforts, having his own room. He's saying, you've limited me, you called it my room, you've given me this dwelling, you called it my room. Whole world is mine. Whole Himalayas, whole outdoors is mine. And you're limiting me to this room. And what an example he used. A bird in the cage. We are the abundant, all-pervading self. And yet we decide to imprison ourselves within the boundary of a small home, a big home, a house, whatever the size of it, it is minuscule compared to your infinitude. And we feel so proud of it. This is my house. You're given up infinity for these few walls? A bird that is meant for the skies being put in a cage. So we do this because it caters to our mind. Our strong preferences, our likes and dislikes, we tie ourselves to this, not realizing that instead of giving us greater pleasure, it actually adds more agitation. You go to a friend's home, you go to a wedding, they don't serve the food that you like, you're uncomfortable. One of the qualities of a Vedantan is one who tries to live this knowledge, who is embodying this knowledge. So it's all of us. All of us here are trying to live this knowledge. A true Vedantan is one that when they go to Texas, they are at home in Texas. They're Texan. When they go to France, they're as French as the French. When they go to India, they're as Indian as the Indian. They are able to adapt, absorb, and be comfortable wherever they are. In the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about a person who does not have any attachment, has this dispossessive attitude. But look how it's worded. It says, he whose wisdom is established. Right? How do we qualify a stita prajna? A person with consolidated wisdom, steady wisdom. It's not that he does not move. He is everywhere without attachment. So you get this idea of this Vedantan or this wise person. We think of the person just sitting and meditating the whole day. This person is active. They are everywhere, but without attachment. And that's the difference. Because when we think about homelessness, some people have unfortunately taken this quality literally. They have sold all their possessions. They have sold their homes. And some organizations, they exploit this. They say, oh, you want to be a seeker of God? You have to be Aniketah. What do you have to do? Give your home to me. Give your possessions to me. It is not about owning or not owning or having or not having. It is your attitude about how you feel about what you have. And if you are possessive over your possessions, you will be anxious. You will want to control. We will be agitated if something happens to our possessions because we've tied ourselves to it. We've tied our identity to that possession, to that place. Now, it's not saying get rid of the possessions. Get rid of the attachment to the possessions. Get rid of the control to the possessions, over the possessions. Be free. Have them, enjoy them, and be not dependent on them. Dispossessiveness in the possessions. So it's not having, it is having, but having no ownership or doership or attachment over the possessions. Then you enjoy. What happens if you are possessive? So we've mentioned you want to control it. What are the other emotions that we experience?
Fear.
Fear, okay. Fear, yes. Fear over what?
Of losing it.
Fear of losing it. So when you are possessive over your possessions, one thing is now you've acquired this beautiful possession. And instead of enjoying it, instead of appreciating it, our mind goes into fear mode. What if I lose it? What if I can't afford it? What if something changes? And the fear of loss comes only with the possessiveness. If you can be dispossessive, it means that even if that possession was to go, you would be okay. In Othello by William Shakespeare, there's a famous line, "Who steals my purse steals trash." So here is a person who is not possessive over wealth, money. So if wealth was to be stolen from them, no issue. Just something, all right? So it's not useless, okay? Trash is too much. So he says, just something, but it's nothing. Doesn't affect me, right? I'm not possessive over it. 'Twas mine, 'tis his. Well, changes. It's not permanent. And has been a slave to thousands. But look where he falls. But he that filches from me my good name, robs me of that which not enriches him, and makes me poor indeed. So this person is tied his identity to wealth. So if has not tied his identity to wealth. So if wealth is stolen, no problem. But this person has tied their identity to reputation. So anybody who speaks well of this person, they feel at home with. Somebody who speaks ill of this person, steals their good name, they're affected. And the question to ask ourselves is, where do we place our comfort? Our identity, our center. Imagine being of the state of mind where you can lose the place that you actually dwell in and not be affected. There's a Zen proverb, when my house burnt down, I got an uninterrupted view of the stars. Now, this might be too much, but this is the idea of being dispossessive. It's saying that have it, enjoy it, but understand that if it is not there, you're not dependent on it. You'll be okay. The beautiful thing about all these qualities is you can practice them with many possessions. You can practice it with very few possessions. And there are stories in the scriptures that depict both. So the one is of King Janaka. King Janaka was a great king. He was called a Raja Rishi. And he would have a guru. And they were called Raja Rishis because they were both kings and they were wise. And during one lecture, a Sunday wisdom session, King Janaka was in class and he was completely fixated on the class. All his attention was there, focusing on the content. And suddenly there were shouts. The palace is on fire! The palace is on fire! And all the people in the class, they left to go and save their rugs, to go and save their huts, etc. Natural reaction. King Janaka didn't move. He says, we have a protocol for the fire. It'll be taken care of. I'll finish my class. Can you be a king with all your jewels, with all your different riches, and be that dispossessive? And remember, with these scriptures, we've also got to take it with a pinch of salt. The idea of these stories is you can have a palace and not be attached to the palace. You can have a straw mat and be very attached to the straw mat. Are you dispossessive over your possessions? We've given this example before, but for those who've not heard it, it's a wonderful example to talk about freedom. And it beautifully covers this idea of having, but not being attached, being dispossessive, being detached. So you enjoy it fully, but you enjoy it without the fear. You enjoy it without the control. In fact, because you don't have that control, you don't have that attachment, you don't have that craving, you actually experience it far more. You appreciate it more. For example, if you are really looking forward to a particular meal, you're so attached to that meal, we eat it very quickly because we're more in love with the idea of the meal than the meal itself. But if you're dispossessive or you're a little bit detached to the meal, you actually savor it. You remember to pause. You remember to taste. You're not enjoying through the anticipation of it, you're enjoying through the actual present sensation of it. This is the secret of life. And this is why detached people, they enjoy everything. If you think about it, our lives are one big reality TV show. It is so interesting, our lives. But we're not able to enjoy it. Why? Because we're in it. But if you detach yourself from it, it becomes like watching any other reality TV show, watching any other entertainment. So you've got 24/7 entertainment with you. All we need to enjoy it is a step backwards. Oh, such an interesting fight I had with my wife. Interesting. You know, if you're watching another couple fight, fascinating. But when it's you, devastating. And all we need to do is just take a step out, not claim ownership, not claim doership, not get involved in that particular argument, and it's entertaining. And I don't laugh during the argument. That might make it worse. That's not the suggestion. A detachment. And the story is of a village that had a great flood. And to escape the raging waters below, the people of the village climbed onto a hill and they were looking for the highest place. And the waters kept on rising, rising. And a man climbs a tree, highest tree on the highest hill, and he's holding onto a branch. But the branch starts giving way. On the same branch, a bird comes and is resting on the same branch. Both man and bird are on the branch. What is the difference?
The bird can fly.
Therefore,
the bird can fly.
Therefore, what?
Therefore, if the branch snaps, the bird's going to be fine.
If the branch breaks, the man breaks. He's done for. He falls into the water, he's gone. But for the bird, branch breaks, it flies. So what is the flight? What makes the bird different from the man?
The open skies. Non-attachment.
Open skies, non-attachment. How is it non-attached?
Dependent on the branch.
It's not dependent on the branch because of its wings. And that is this knowledge. This knowledge, Vedanta, gives you the wings of detachment, changes your identity. So you're not dependent on the branch of the world. Human beings in ignorance are dependent on a branch that at some point is going to break. And then, if you place your full dependence there, you're heartbroken, you're devastated, you grieve. But if you have the knowledge, you can still enjoy the world just as much as the man on the branch. It means you can use the world, you can leverage the world, you can experience the world. But if the branch breaks, you fly. That flight is placing your identity, your comfort in the higher, in the self, in the spirit. So let's bring it to practical exercises. What can we do to start practicing this Aniketah? So first thing, you do not have to sell your home. Okay? You can keep your home. What is the actual practical advice that we want to achieve here is, let us look at on what does our comfort depend on. When you travel, what do you miss? When you say you're missing home, what about home do you miss? Ask yourself that, because that's where your dependence is. You say, oh, no, I miss my family. Ah, okay, so there's my dependence. I miss my cuisine. Ah, okay, so food is your dependence. Ask yourself, where is that point? And see how we can change the center. I'll give you an example that happened recently to us. So, with Avani and myself, we have been traveling, as most of you know, to your respective countries. And with the increased interest in the subject, our travels have increased. So originally, we would travel for 1 month, come back to the academy. And it increased to 2 months. And then we come back to the academy. And at the end of the 2 months, or actually even at the end of the 1 month, we were looking forward to returning. We're looking forward to being back in the academy, conversing with Swamiji, talking about all our adventures and the wonderful people that we met, the good work that was achieved, etc. But then the travel became 2.5 months. And now we had an invitation earlier this year that would make it a 4-month travel. So we went to our teacher and we said, Swamiji, the travels are getting longer. So should we break it up and make sure that we keep coming back to base? Or should we just keep going? And Swamiji said, come back for what? He's saying, there is a need. If there is no problem from your side, keep going. So then we thought, okay, we thought maybe we need to come back to the base. But in fact, all our work we can do online. So that's not necessary. And we thought, all right, if we're going to be away for 4 months, what would we actually miss? Like, why would the 4 months be difficult? So we thought about it and we realized it's actually very few things. Maybe a conversation about knowledge like this, but with a colleague. So, okay, we can always have a call, having or getting some guidance from Swamiji, our teacher, or even just updating on our activities, the work that's going on. Again, one FaceTime call taken care of. And we started thinking, morning tea. And we said, okay, we'll carry the tea bags with us. All right. So we carry rooibos tea bags with us. All right. That part of South Africa is still very much with us. We said, we'll carry that with us. And then we were thinking, you're away for such a long time. Sometimes you get used to a particular shampoo, conditioner. Okay, we'll carry that with us. And what we realized is actually there were very few items that gave us that idea of home. And we took it with us and no problem. The 4 months went by smoothly. But there was something greater there. And what we realized is actually these were minor things. What made it possible to be wherever you are, and I'm saying from our experience practically, is that we changed our idea of home, identity. From the academy, from our ashram, our place with our teacher, we changed it to study and work. So wherever you're doing what you love, wherever you're doing what's important to you, that becomes your home. So as long as we're studying and working, we feel at home. So now we feel like we are taking the academy wherever we are with us. We're never separated from the academy. But all we had to do was change our idea of home. And the absolute version of this, which we're working towards, is to find that center in the self. That's you. Wherever you exist, wherever you are, that is your home. Because you are the self. And the idea of missing doesn't even occur. One quality that we've learned from Swamiji, and it's great having these people in your life, and that's the idea of a mentor or a guru or a teacher, is that they show us this concept in action. And we would spend, we would be hosted by a family, Swamiji and a few of us, we'd be hosted by a family or a group of people, and wonderful week, 2 weeks with that group of people. They take us to the airport, and as soon as they say goodbye, cut. It is as if the next step that Swamiji takes, that previous world, that previous family, country, dissolved, gone. No, oh, thank you so much. What a beautiful week. Oh, I'm going to miss you. None of that. Not even turning around. People, I'm sure you see at the airport, they say goodbye and then they walk a little bit and then they turn around and then they wave and then they go to security and then they wave and then they go to immigration and they're still looking and then they wave. How many goodbyes do you want? And then still, even when they're out of sight, in the plane, bye. Cut. Why? There is no missing. Where you are is the truth. is your home. Is God, self, spirit. That's powerful. So this is the absolute. We've got to check where we are. And let us be aware of where we are creating dependencies. And a simple thing is, like, if you find yourself getting dependent on your morning cup of coffee, give it a break. Just interrupt it a little bit so that you're not dependent on it. So let me try today without coffee. I'm okay. Okay. I didn't have any cravings. I didn't start itching. I didn't start looking at my partner as if they are an espresso. I can do without it. I'm okay. And I have so many stories, and I hope these stories bring the concept into reality for you. I'll give you one more. And this was a student wanted to buy my teacher a Rolls Royce. And there's some history behind it. My teacher used to own a Rolls Royce. And he left it to pursue this subject full time. He gave it to someone and he got into the subject and he was full time with this subject. So imagine 50 years down the line, one student, now of Swamiji's, thought, wouldn't it be such a fitting, appropriate gift to give a man who left a Rolls Royce, present him one now? And he went to my teacher, and Swamiji first said, look, will I really enjoy a Rolls Royce on these roads? At that time, Mumbai, Pune, full of potholes, right? Not a good idea. The roads got better, and the student persisted. So my teacher said, okay, see if it fits in the garage. They measured, and actually it didn't fit. It was short by 1 inch. But such was the dedication, is they knocked the garage a little bit by 1 inch so it could fit. Okay, my teacher said finally, all right, let's go have a look. So the plan was the student would meet Swamiji and a few of us at the Rolls Royce showroom. And our group would come from Swamiji's residence to the Rolls Royce showroom. And just before we're about to leave, Swamiji said, I'm taking the bus. We're like, what? I'm going by BEST. That's what the Mumbai public transport buses are called. They're called BEST, BEST. And we thought Swamiji is joking. Like in Mumbai, to go on the buses is quite and that time Swamiji is 85. It's quite a ordeal. There's a lot of people and you may not get place to sit. You're waiting for the bus. You're going stop by stop. And Swamiji said, I'm going by bus. You decide what you want to do. So naturally, everybody followed Swamiji. All of us in the bus. We're wearing uniform. And can you believe it? The bus stop is actually right opposite the Rolls Royce showroom. And the bus pulls up at the Rolls Royce showroom, and a group of us, all dressed like this, get off, Swamiji leading the way. Now, can you imagine the expression of the Rolls Royce salesperson? They're seeing this group in white getting off a bus and coming towards the shop. And he comes out and he says, can I help all of you? And my teacher Swamiji says, yes, we're coming to buy a Rolls Royce. And he said, very funny, very funny. Sorry, you can't come inside. I said, no, he's serious. We're coming to buy a Rolls Royce. And he refused to let our group in. And you can't blame the person, because who gets out of a bus to go and buy a Rolls Royce? So until the student came, who was looking more like a Rolls Royce owner, and a little bit more suit and tie, etc. And the person said, "Oh, I didn't realize," and of course apologized profusely for his making judgments, and entered the showroom. Now, my question to you is, why did Swamiji make us all get onto the bus?
Appearances matter to people.
Sorry?
Appearances matter a lot to people.
Okay.
And they judge you.
Okay. Okay, that's from the salesman's perspective. What is Swamiji's idea for the students?
To be comfortable in any mode of transport.
To be comfortable in any mode of transport? Mm-hmm.
To be humble.
To be humble? Mm-hmm.
Not to be attached to like luxury or comfort.
Mm-hmm. And it's exactly this quality that we're studying. It's, you know, the difference between a Rolls Royce and public transport. You know the difference. And the idea of why he did it was to show how, if it's not available, and Swamiji's idea was, look, anyway, we're getting into a car with the student and we're going to go for lunch, so why not go by bus? But what he wanted to show is to be truly free is to have it and not be possessed by it, to be comfortable without it. Because that Rolls Royce may have to go for servicing. What would you do? Would you be uncomfortable in another car? No, you'd be absolutely fine. And that's the freedom that it gives you, is that you can have the best of everything. And if it's not there, I get an uninterrupted view of the stars. Wow. I have God with me. I have self. I have spirit. I have everything. What do I lack? All these conveniences, all these contraptions. Yeah, why not? But I don't depend on them. So, in summary, this quality of being homeless, Aniketah, is when we understand that our true center is the spirit, the self. So we make our home everywhere because that spirit is everywhere, or it's wherever you go. But it also means nowhere in particular. Not placing, this is the other side of it, not placing your identity or home to a particular material, physical, emotional, intellectual thing. You can have it, but free yourself from the attachment of it. So when we say being dispossessive, it means moving through life, moving through the world lightly. It doesn't mean having less, but it means not having the burden of ownership and the burden of control and the burden of doership that makes us feel heavy inside. Move lightly. Dispossess yourself of anything in the world because it's temporary, and take up the permanent treasure of the self within. This is the quality of dispossessiveness. You dispossess of the binding and you take up true liberation. Okay. Questions?
So attachments can be of material, comfort, and also relationships, right?
Yes.
And we become possessive of a person, or a relationship. Um, that's also that we have to work on.
Yes. And a good way to test the attachment is how much do you miss that person when they are absent? How much do you want to interfere, control that person's thinking and decision making? In a relationship, there are 3 signs of attachment. The first one is dependency. So your happiness depending on that person's mood, on that person's results, on that person's success or failure. The second is control. That's the possessiveness. So we're always telling them what to do, what not to do. And we mean well, but we do it because we think it's right. And the third part is we want them to behave the way we would like them to be rather than according to who they are. So the third factor is unreasonable expectations. So if you have any of these, it means that we're attached.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sometimes we find there might be some scenarios like where people have to move out of their family temporarily for work or other stuff, right? Maybe for 1 or 2 years. So at that time, when we say like we should not be attached to anything, so in that case, are we missing out our duties for that particular period of time, amount of time, as a son or as a husband or as a father, uh, being away from home?
So when you say that you're away from home,
Mm.
what does that mean? Like how often are the
Maybe
visits?
like suppose, yeah.
No, understood.
For work.
But how often are the visits? How often is the connection with the family?
Example, like in my case, like I'm from India, but I'm staying in US for at least for the last 1 or 2 years away from home. So it is only through phone or something like that we connect. So in that case, my question is like, am I missing out my duties uh, as a family member
Mm-hmm. So
when not being home?
it really depends on the context of the family and what has been decided. So, for instance, if a person has married with the idea of being with the partner, and that was the idea of it, and now they're living separately, and no doubt for a better life, but that obligation to what was the idea of the partnership is not being fulfilled. But suppose the partner is with you in the sense that they understand you. They know that what you're doing is for the betterment of the family in the long term. So they are ready for the parting. So there's an understanding of it. So a person who marries a soldier understands that there's going to be times of absence. There's an understanding there. So your duty is to be clear with the family of what you can do, what you can't do. And as long as you are taking care of what you believe are the essentials of your duties, so for instance, for parents, it might be taking care of perhaps their medical care, whatever you think is the duties of a son, their medical care, their comfort, solace, you can do over the phone. So, really, it need not be a neglect of duties.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. So, attachment or being detached is not that you don't fulfill your duties. You do your duties meticulously, whatever needs to be done. So, providing for the family, contact with the family when necessary, giving emotional support, if you have decided that that is your role, giving emotional support to those who need it in the family. Detachment is you're not affected by the distance. You're clear about what you're doing. So there's no requirement for missing. There's no requirement for being distracted. There's no requirement for regret. But this comes from clarity and not being attached to physical presence. Mala, you put a comment here that I had an argument with my wife in relation to being homeless. Not argument. It was this thinking process that we went through about how to understand what it was that we miss. What is the difference between a 2-month travel and a 4-month travel? How not to miss home. So this was the discussion that we had to try and solve it. Fortunately, we both have this background, so we're able to discuss it and help each other.
That's much more interesting
Mm.
that you both have the same background and discussed it, mutual discussion.
I'd say one of the things we have to be careful about is that we definitely find a lot of comfort in each other. So that becomes your home then. Okay, so when you're with that person, you feel at home, you feel comfortable, a little bit more luxurious. So that is also something that we caution ourselves, because it may not always be the case that we may be together. There may be an obligation to the family in South Africa, where one of us might have to go and one of us might have to continue with the tour. So we talk about these aspects to make sure that we are not caught wrong-footed and we're able to be steadfast and keep moving towards the real home. The real home is Om. OM. Om means the self, the spirit.
Sudhakar, we need to have a routine to stay focused and alive. What if we get attached to that routine?
Dangerous, because Dana, the routine is important. So that is our sense of value. The routine is going to get us towards our goal. But it is only the means to the goal and not the goal itself. So at some points, there are going to be times where we may not be able to fulfill the routine. Illness or some occasional duty that comes up. So you may not be able to wake up in the morning. Why? Because perhaps you had a migraine, or perhaps you had a late night flight, or somebody that you were picking up at the airport, their flight got delayed. If you are too rigid or we're attached to the schedule and we push ourselves when we are not well, then what's going to happen is we're going to end up missing more days of our routine. So to ensure we don't get attached, it's important that along with our sense of values, like what's important, like routine, discipline, is also a sense of proportion. A little bit of detachment, flexibility to understand at some time it may be important to take a break for the actual continuity of it.
Thank you.
So that's a great question. Do not get attached even to the good things. Okay, I mean, no doubt they're helpful, but ultimately They're only a means to the goal, they're not the goal. So sometimes when people care for their parents, they get attached to elderly parents. They get attached to the routine of caring. And they're so fixed on the routine that they forget that the point is actually to care about the parents. So they start shouting at the parent, saying, "You're not doing this on time. I told you we have to do this." And then that parent is miserable the rest of the day. So we got attached to the care instead of what the care is for. So this is where, yes, we should be consistent. We should encourage the routine, but don't get attached to it. Remember, it's just a means to a goal. And sometimes we've got to use our intellect for sense of proportion. We may have to miss it for continuity. For the betterment, for the goal. So friends, we have two announcements. The first is that next week we do have a session. It's going to be different in nature. It's going to be a lecture, 45 minutes lecture with 15-minute Q&A. So similar to our format here. But this is a lecture that is for any person that wants to be better at life. It's Go for Gold. So we've shared the details on our respective groups. Please feel free to forward it. So this is a lecture to really make Vedanta more accessible. So these 35 qualities is a little bit of a deeper study for sure, but anybody who wants to be better, this lecture will outline a few points for our highest living. And then the second aspect is we're going to take a break from our Sunday Wisdom sessions, right? So Go for Gold will be next week. And thereafter, there'll be about a 1-month break. And whilst we break, for those of you who would like to contribute for the sessions or towards this work of making this knowledge available throughout the world, we will put the details in the group. The tradition is called Guru Dakshina. So it's more of a token gesture, and it's really up to your inspiration. It's voluntary. If you'd like to support this cause and work, or out of gratitude, like to show that, you're welcome to make a contribution. So thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful few months, and we'll see you live next week for Go for Gold, and then we resume our sessions in January. Hari Om.